I want to get on to a really difficult issue where I know you'll have very strong views, Gemma, and that is the brumbies, the feral brumbies in the Kosciuszko National Park in the highlands of Australia. We've all seen The Man from Snowy River, the film, we know the poem, but there's an environmental challenge here. But there's a lot of protests against the culling of these animals. Now, I'm kind of conflicted because I think if you're going to have a wilderness area, you have to get feral animals out of there, whether it's goats or donkeys or dogs or cats. But the idea of killing horses, understandably, really
it is
riles
that,
the people.
and it's also not just that, it's how they're doing it and what hasn't been widely broadcast because it's so distressing. And I have seen some of these images through groups of friends who I ride with in that area. You know, mares and foals left to die, horses left to die. It's inhumane, it's cruel, and quite frankly, my understanding is the science behind this is being settled by people in, in Sydney and Canberra, who wouldn't know a brumby if it came up and, slapped them across the back of the head.
Yeah, a lot of contention about the survey numbers and whatever, a lot of uncertainty.
I've ridden multiple times through that area, and these numbers about 20,000, 10. Let me tell you, if there were 20,000 brumbies there, you would be fetlock deep in manure. And we rode, and I've ridden 5 days camping. I may not look like a woman who camps, but believe me, I actually sleep in Caroline's swag. It's still in my lounge room, true story. But
She does. It's
you
the
see
truth.
the same mob of horses over and over again. So I'm not saying there's not a problem. I have a fundamental problem with how it's being dealt with and the science on which it's based.
Yeah. In the ideal world, if the numbers were low enough and you could catch some of the horses and relocate them, but there's been a bit of that.
People are willing to, but the Environmental Agency will not let them.
And just to be clear, what we're talking about here, if you haven't read or seen it, is that helicopters basically banging off at horses from the air, shooting them with some horrible results. Just before I let you go, Caro, I didn't catch the royal report last night. Prince Charles, King Charles, what? Is King Charles out, back out and about? I just got to get your thoughts on this. He's out and about. This is the moment, isn't it, for them? He's a doffer, all right. Most people, a lot of people don't have a great view of King Charles because he's been such a doffer for so long. But this could be the making of him, couldn't it? He's got this illness, he's getting through it with dignity, and he's trying to keep his family together through, quite a few problems with, of course, his daughter-in-law, Princess Kate and the like. He's doing all right, isn't he?
Tell us how you really feel, Chris. Tell us how you really feel. No, look, I think a very good chance that it is the making of him. Chris, I think that's actually a really fair point. And the thing is, I think there's always been this view that the royal family, they cost a lot of money and they don't really do anything and whatever, which if you actually have a look at the amount of charity work that they do and the amount of patronage type work they do, it's actually huge. And if you had to quantify that and get the private sector to do it or get government to do it, I actually expected it to cost a whole lot more. But he's been very anxious to get to work. And as you know, I interviewed his nephew, Peter Phillips, about 10 days ago. And he said, look, the king is frustrated to get back to work. He wants to get back into it. And when you look at him in those photos yesterday, he actually looks very good for a man who is ill. He had a smile on his face. He was interacting with the audience there that had gathered that there was at St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, and he actually looked really good.
Sure.
And the comment that I made on the show last night, Chris, is, the royal family survived the Black Death, they will survive this.
Yeah, look, he's going through a difficult situation at a difficult time and doing it with a fair bit of dignity. Maybe he did inherit quite a bit from his lovely mother. That's all the time we've got for you. Thanks for joining us, Gemma and Caro. Catch up with you next week.